Okay, so as we are moving through Blake's IEP, the next part is to take a look at standardized tests. So MCA math and reading and science. It's not applicable every year. Each of them aren't. And then also we have some district-wide assessments that we give our students to kind of, it's like a temperature check, just to get a pulse on where they're doing and how we can support them in their abilities. And make sure that they're getting the right kind of supports. And so I think right now, given some of this learner's needs, I really think he needs to have access to and be able to use a handheld calculator for that math test. That's
that makes sense.
perfectly in alignment with what he's getting in his math class right now and in his science class. And I think that would just be most appropriate with what he's accessing right now, already in his general education space.
Okay. So I'm just, my neighbor has a student that goes to the school too.
Oh, sure.
And her daughter gets to take her tests in a small group setting.
Yeah.
Is that something that Blake could do as well?
Yeah. So I think that's a great question. Something that we want to think through as a team is we want to think about what Blake is receiving day in and day out, what his experience is with testing right now, what does that setup look like, what kind of accommodations or modifications is he receiving in the general education classes right now. And so I'd be interested. I don't think he's receiving any type of his testing in a small group setting, but I could be wrong. I'd like to check in.
He's not. So I do have a couple students who do leave class when it's time to take a test for a variety of reasons, and they take those tests in a small group. It's what they do every time we test. But that's not Blake. He takes all of his tests in my classroom. So my concern would be if we put this in his IEP, that it would be a completely new testing environment for him. And knowing Blake, I don't think he would like to leave class in that way on that day. I think he'd prefer to stay where he's used to being and where his peers are.
Oh, so
Does that make sense?
You kind of want this to look like what it looks like all of the other
Each of the days.
Correct.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Most, like, you know,
Okay.
the test itself is a bit of a foreign thing to our students, but
Right.
keeping everything else as same as possible,
Okay.
I think would be in his best interest at this point.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And I
Although
think
it makes sense to make a big change.
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay.
We take the test over multiple days as well. So like the math test isn't going to be just all on one day. It's over a couple of different days because it's a big test. So we break it apart so the kids don't have a huge chunk of testing time.
Okay.
Yeah, great question though. Does everyone feel okay about adding that handheld calculator for specifically just the math test? I think that's what he is accessing right now anyways, as a part of his day-to-day. So I think that would be a good addition.
Mom, does that feel okay to you?
Yeah.
Not doing the small group?
No, that makes sense.
Okay, good. Just wanted to double check. Awesome.
Great.
How about the district assessments? I know we do the fast track.
We do.
pieces.
Yep.
Any
Like I
accommodations they
said,
did?
just like a kind of a temperature check that we do in the fall, winter, and spring, to really, our principal gets kind of a overview of all of our students in our school, and then we're able to service students at each of their abilities. And so I think that same type of handheld calculator for any of the math assessments, as it would be appropriate, makes good sense to me. Again, we wouldn't want to totally change the environment in the way that the test is presented, anything different than what Blake would receive.
Not a small group.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So I see that in his IEP. Would you take that out
Yes.
then?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.